We're going to start by cutting through the back of the head by working from that top zone at the apex all the way down into the bottom of the nape with a finger depth section running from the top to the bottom. This will allow us to control the length and shape that we cut to. Starting from the bottom of the line, this will allow us to see the length that we're keeping in at the nape, which we can always adjust after we've done the internal layering. We're choosing to work a squarish shape vertically running from the bottom into the top of the head at the back, as this will give me a very flat and compact shape, allowing me to reduce the length and weight over the occipital bone, but retain that bit of softness through the nape area. If the hair is quite thick in terms of density, we can start to round that shape up slightly in towards the coronal zone where the crown sits. This will allow me to keep a much more fluid head hugging shape and create a shorter length going into the top area. Now, the reason that we're working vertical sections is so we can control the length and shape working on the vertical axes, as this is the more important shape that we want to control with a razor, just to work that really soft, natural looking finish, the way we can create the softness in the external line very easily by just working the razor coming down on the damp hair and choosing where we take that length to. Realistically, we want to reduce the length and weight in the internal corner of the head and maintain all the length and softness around the edges. So we're only going to focus on the top half of the curvature of the head, leaving the underneath completely disconnected. We can use the bottom area as a guide and then create a nice soft round shape, which will just really loosen out that weight line and heaviness running through the contour areas. So although we are working with disconnection from the top to the bottom, it's so minimal that you won't notice or see that we aren't cutting the bottom bit of this hair at all, because it's not necessary because of the length that we want to use on this hairstyle. This is a prime example of when not to cut something is just as important as knowing what to cut, where we really want to establish the length on the fringe, where we want to start framing the face. The way that we're going to do this is by pulling the hair down, using very minimum tension, cutting to the length where we want the fringe to roughly be. Once we have that length cut right down the center where the nose sits, we can use that now as a guide to start working internally through the top. We can work vertically from the front using that guide that we have just established with the length, choosing our choice of length and shape running through the vertical axes, and then taking all of the internal length down until we have it where we want it. That will initially cut all of the length working through the fringe area, leaving us with a very soft finish working through the fringe, which we could then personalize after if we wanted to. Generally speaking, if you want to work internally by taking away all the length on the fringe, this will give you a softer finish on the external anyway. If you want to really establish a strong shape on the fringe in any haircut, you'd want to cut the external shape first and then maintain that length and weight at the front. But that's not necessarily what we want to do here. As you can see, we've cut a rounded shape through the first half of the cutting line, and then as we go in towards the back, we're starting to maintain a bit more length and building up length towards the crown area. To keep things quite classic in terms of the layering through the top area, we're going to be working section 2 back towards number 1 and 3 to 2 and 4 to 3. Once the hair has been completely dried, we're now going to start working through the main areas of the haircut where we want to add texturization and take away density through the last third. This client does have medium to thick density hair. We have already texturized it to create lots of different lengths when the hair was wet, but now the hair is dried, we can really change the density in a different way to when it's wet. We're generally going to pick up the hair in the direction that it actually wants to sit in the hairstyle that the client's got. This is going to allow us to texturize in a very natural way, and it's not going to destroy the shape in any way at all. Another great texturizing technique on thick to medium density of straight hair is where we can use the comb to come underneath, elevate the roots up, and then point cut in through to the ends in this way. This will allow us to texturize the hair in a very natural way, where we're elevating the hair exactly where it is coming out from the root, and we can just work with the points of the scissor, working through the last third of the hair and heavily point cut into those zones to again increase movement and texture and just give it a little bit more breathing space through the back of the head. We can see from the front profile that we have a much more face framing length on the fringe area, which really highlights the client's face and bone structure. If we went any shorter, it may disrupt what we have created, or if we left it longer, it could cover up the client's face. So the choice of length is essential, especially when working fringes. We can see the shortness on the sides now works very well, and the edges looks nice and soft and looks like the longest part. Through the nape area where we've worked at razor, we can see a very soft natural look, which really blends beautifully into what we've done through the sides. Thanks for watching this cutting tutorial, guys. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we will see you on another one.